It is my pleasure to introduce Brookie Thomas, President of the Central Kentucky Computer Society. She will be sharing with us using the Control Center on your iPad. Brookie joined the Central Kentucky Computer Society in 2008 and became an instructor on using Movie Maker. After serving on the board of directors, and she became president in July of 2012. CKCS was created officially as a nonprofit educational organization in 1984 with the stated purpose of demystifying technology. Brookie has continued the mission of the organization by organizing the monthly tech nights and teaching iPad and Facebook classes and assisting with various other classes. Her teaching philosophy is to simplify today's technology to make it user-friendly and make learning fun. Brookie will demonstrate where the iPad Control Center is, how to customize it, and as an overview of the different controls available within the Control Center. It's my pleasure to return the presentation over to Brookie.
Thank you, Bill, for that introduction, and thank all of you for joining us today. As Bill mentioned, we'll be talking about the Control Center on your iPad, and it's broken down into 3 different sections. First, I'll show you where the Control Center is, and sometimes that's tricky to pull. Second, I'll show you how to customize the Control Center in the Settings app. And then finally, I'll show you what many of the controls do. And we'll just see how the time factor works out to see how many we get through. There's a couple of things I'd like for you to keep in mind while I'm going through this. The best way to watch this presentation is on your computer or another device, so you can practice on your iPad. And I hope to do it slowly enough so that you can follow along. Right now, I'm mirroring my iPad to the computer, and I'll be using the cursor to show you what I'm doing on my iPad. So you should actually see my mouse right now. And unfortunately, it's not coming up to show have the
I see it.
you see it? You see the
It's on that black background from the
Okay, so you'll actually be seeing this little arrow, but I'll be actually operating with my finger. Okay, my iPad will look different than yours depending on what version you have and what iOS you're using. I'm using an iPad Mini 4 and I'm using iPad OS 14.4.2, and that will make a difference of how yours looks and how mine looks. On an iPad with iOS 12 or later, your Control Center will come down from the top, and I'm going to show you how to do that. And it is easier to pull it down if you have your iPad in portrait view. So that's just a little tip. When we teach these classes in person and not over Zoom, we really do have to a lot of times help people be able to activate their Control Center. If you have an earlier iPad and you're running iOS 11 or earlier, you will actually drag your finger from the bottom up, and you'll have some controls, but you won't have the same amount the later iPads running the later system have. Today I have Joe Dietz. He's helping with this presentation. If you were around for his iPhone presentation in February, you're familiar with him. He's going to be monitoring the chats to help you possibly with issues that you might come up with or clarifications. So he'll be responding to those. He will not be addressing anything that we're not covering in this presentation. Okay, so the first thing that I really want to do is to help you with getting your Control Center up. So I have these 2 graphics I'm going to show, and then I'm going to actually show you in real time when I pull down my Control Center. But here is a graphic that shows that you put your index finger at the top right of your iPad and you just drag down. And when you do, your control center should pop up over your home page. Okay. If you have an older iPad, then you will actually put your finger at the bottom and you will swipe up or you will drag up and you will have a control center that won't be as extensive as the newer model. Okay, so at this point in time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my iPad and I'm turning it into the portrait orientation. You might like the landscape, but it is easier to pull down the control center if you hold it in this position. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually go up here to the top and with my finger, I'm just going to drag down on the right-hand side. And so when I do that, you see that my control center comes up. And hopefully you've been able to do that. Now, if you have the older version, remember you're going to have to go down here to the bottom and drag up, and you will have a little control center here at the bottom. Okay. For those of you that have the later version, you may not have all these controls showing. I have purposely put up a lot of these controls just to show you what's available. And in fact, we'll be discussing those. So I pulled them up for that reason. But usually I would probably have half these controls because if it's a control that you don't use, you don't need to be showing it. That just clogs up your control center. It just makes it too cluttered. So the way you do that is you customize your control center. So what I'm going to do, if you all will do, is just go ahead and tap your screen to get rid of your control center. At the bottom, if that doesn't work, you can drag your finger down and it will close your control center. And what we're going to do now is we're going to go to this app right here. It's your settings app. So everybody find your settings app. And what we're going to do is we're going to tap it. And yours should come up like this. And on the left-hand side, you're going to have to scroll down until you find Control Center. And I'm not sure if the earlier versions have that. So if you have an earlier version, you may not be able to customize your Control Center. But most of you should have a Control Center here. And on this Control Center, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and tap it. And when we tap it, on the right-hand column comes up all of our controls. And I'm just going to scroll down so that you can see that these are the controls that are included in my control system, panel. And these are the ones that are showing right now that are visible. But if I keep scrolling down, you'll see there's a few more down here that are called more controls. And right now, they're not visible in my control center because I wanted to show you how you can add and subtract. So let's say I didn't want guided access in my control center. So this red circle with the minus sign, I can tap that. And when I do, it asks me, do I want to remove it? If I tap remove, then it will go down into more controls and it will not be visible in my control center. Now let's say I want to add all of these controls. All I have to do is tap the green circle with the plus sign and they will all be added. Now I'm adding all of them because I'm going to hopefully show most of them to you when we get back to the control center. And you might want to take a minute right now to go ahead and add the ones that you might be interested in, or you might want to add all of them. And if you want to add all of them, that's fine. So go ahead and do that, and I'll pause for a minute for you to get that done. Okay, so now we're going to go back to our home page. So just go ahead and swipe up or press your home button and get back to your home page. And the next thing that I want you to do is I want you to go ahead and pull down or pull up your control center by reaching up at the top and pulling down, or from the bottom up and pulling up the control center. So now I have all the controls visible. And we're going to go into the third part of the presentation, and that is to show you some of the secret background stuff on these controls, and to tell you a little bit about what the controls do. So first of all, let's look at this first panel right here. See, this is called your network card. And that network card has several controls. If you have a fancier iPad than you've got Wi-Fi connection, you've got cellular connection, you will probably have 6 icons in that square. And you can easily tap any of these controls to turn them on and off. So if you're on an airplane, and sometime we're going to get back to airplanes, I guess, and you'll need to know how to put your iPad into airplane mode. You'll tap that and it will go into airplane mode. But the other thing that you can do, and with the swiping, that was very important. There's also, I'm going to be using the words tap, and I'm going to be using the word a long press. And so if you tap these, they will turn them on and off. But if you will do a long press kind of in the middle of it, then it will bring up your whole card. And you'll have other options there. So here, not only are the icons there, but they tell you what they are. So the airplane mode is the first one. And you can tap that one on and off. The second one that I want to talk about is the Wi-Fi. And as I said earlier, you can tap it. But if you'll do a long press, it gives you options. It tells you, it goes looking for all the Wi-Fi possible connections. And so you could change your different connections. I'm currently at the Computer Society, so I'm connected to that Wi-Fi. But that's an easy way to change your Wi-Fi connections. So go ahead and tap your screen and you can get out of that. The other neat control is AirDrop. And if you will do a long press, put your finger on there and press it, then you'll have the options of customizing your AirDrop. You can say receiving off, which means that you can't AirDrop and nobody can AirDrop something to you. You can choose contacts only, so that means that you can only get AirDrops and only send AirDrops to people in your contacts, or you can leave it wide open and everybody can send it to you. It's a personal preference. I leave it on everyone. If somebody sends me something I don't want, I can decline it. And if I don't have somebody in my contacts that I want to share something with, it makes it really easy to do that. So for those of you that are not real familiar with AirDrop, AirDrop instantly shares your photos, videos, location, and more with Apple devices nearby. So probably within about 30 feet. It runs on Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. So this is where you can customize who you can receive that information from. So decide which one you want, go ahead and select it, and then you'll be set. Okay, also in this is Bluetooth. Bluetooth connects headphones, wireless keyboards, and other Bluetooth-enabled devices. If you press and hold the Bluetooth icon, then you can see all the other Bluetooth devices that you have, and you can connect this, you can easily connect to them. Bluetooth uses short wavelength UHF radio waves. So we're talking about 33 feet. Okay, to get out of that, just tap your screen anywhere and you'll get back to your network card. And then you can tap your screen again and you can get back to your control center. The next icon that we're going to talk about is the audio panel. And it's this panel right here. Okay. And there's lots of things going on with this. This is where you usually show where your music is playing and you can, control it. But you also can do a long press again. And you'll notice that right here, this little icon is called your AirPlay button. And this way you can switch your audio outputs to speakers, headphones, Apple TV, or other devices, audio devices. So if I press that, then other things come up, like to the TV that we have here in the Computer Society or the Apple TV. And then I can also control the volume here and I can play it and pause it. So those are your controls for your audio. Okay, just go ahead and tap it and you can go back to your control center. Okay, so now the next icon, and pretty much these panels are pretty consistent on everybody's iPad, including these icons down to about here. The rest are customized. So this next icon that I want to talk about is right here, and that is rotation lock. When it's locked, the arrows turn a different color. So that says rotation lock. And if you'll look up here at the top of our control center, watch when I press it again, it will say rotation lock off. So if you want to keep your iPad in the profile view or in the landscape view, you would go ahead and tap that to lock the orientation. I use it when I'm reading in bed and I want to keep it in the profile position so it doesn't keep switching on me. So that's an easy way to get to that control. The next control right here is a half moon, and it is your do not disturb. It silences calls and notifications. You tap to turn it on and off. But you can also then do a long press and you have other options. So you can say, don't disturb me for an hour. I want to take a nap. Don't disturb me until this evening or until I leave this location. I'm actually at Moore Drive. It knows that I'm there. So if I indicate that, then it will turn the do not disturb off when I leave here. It knows that I'm at this event, or I can schedule a time that I want it to not disturb me. So those are your controls there. So to get out of that screen, go ahead and press your home button and pull down your control center again. Here's a long panel right here. And this one is brightness. You can drag the brightness control up or down and adjust the brightness of your display. So to do that, you probably won't see a difference, but you probably will on yours. Just use your finger and raise it up and down. So you're just moving your finger up and down. And it's your personal preference how bright you need it. Of course, the brighter you make it, the faster the battery. But if you don't have battery issues, you don't need to worry about that. And it also has a long press. So go ahead and put your finger on there and press it. And here you have two other things. You can do dark mode. They say dark mode is good in low light settings. You might like that better. There's also the night shift. And I have night shift coming on at sunset. It makes the blue lights be warmer, so it's more of a yellow light. And they said that's easier to get to sleep at night if you shift to that night shift, to that warmer light emission. So here are the controls for that. So go ahead and tap it to get back to your control center. We also have here this control. Mine right now says Apple TV, but it's really your volume control, and you can drag it up and down to increase volume and to decrease volume on any of the audio playback that you're using. Okay, now it's in this section right here that yours may be in a different location. Okay, you'll just have to look for it. But this one is your silent mode. This little bell right here. In silent mode quickly silences alerts and notifications that you receive on your device. So if you enable that one, you won't have any of those notifications. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. We're in Kentucky, and I've been getting lots of messages about betting on the Derby. So I'll go ahead and do that so we won't get any of those to interfere with us today. The next icon right here is a clock, and it is your alarm. It goes directly to the alarm. So I'm going to tap it, and it's taking me to alarm. So I can quickly set an alarm to wake up, to attend a Zoom meeting. With the pandemic, I'm finding that I need to set an alarm to remind me that I've got something coming up. So this is very helpful at times. Also, it is taking you to your clock app. And so if you notice down here at the bottom, you also have the world clock, the alarm clock, which is on, the stopwatch, and the timer. But there's also icons in your control center that takes you directly to the stopwatch and the timer. So I'll be showing you that one also. So go ahead and hit your home button, go back to your home page, and pull down your control center. This next icon right here is text size. It's the double A. So look for that one. And if you tap it, you can then easily use this slider to increase the text size or to decrease the text size. So make it what's comfortable to you. Just remember that the larger you make the text size, the fewer words on the page you'll be able to see. But make it comfortable for you. Go ahead and tap back to your control center, and then this icon is your magnifier. So go ahead and see if you can find your magnifier. And this one I use all the time, and I use it primarily to read pill bottles. So I have an example here that I'm going to show you. So right now I'm going ahead and tapping on my magnifier. And I've brought a Tylenol bottle as an example. And you'll notice down here, you have controls, and this is zooming. I don't usually use this control. You can use it to zoom in and to zoom out, okay? But you can also use two fingers to expand and to pinch. And then the other neat thing is, see this shutter button right down here? You can tap that. It's going to freeze it. So then with one finger, I can move around, or I can use two fingers, and I can really focus in on something that I want to read. So it is really a neat tool that I use all the time. And then to get out of the freeze, what you're going to do is you're just going to tap your screen. These controls come back up, and you can tap the shutter button now that has an X in it. And when you do that, it goes back to live. Okay. And you have other controls here as well. You can make it brighter. You can increase the contrast. You can do filters. And then you can also take shots of it. So it's just a really neat tool. So I'm going to give you a second to try that. Go ahead and put something in front of your iPad. You're going to be using the camera on the back of your iPad for the magnifier, but you're not going to the camera control. You're going to the magnifier, and go ahead and tap on it. See if you can read some fine print and freeze it and manipulate it with 2 fingers. Okay, all right. Doesn't seem like you all are having any problems with this. So we'll go ahead, I'm gonna unfreeze it, and then I'm gonna go ahead and hit my home button to go back to my home screen, and then I'm gonna enable my control center again. Okay, now we're on this control right here, and that is the timer. It takes you directly to the timer, so I'm going to go ahead and tap it. And you can set timers up to 24 hours. So you can see it's easy with your finger. If you want to set the hours, you're just going to scroll up to how many hours you want your timer to be. Or it can be just that you want something for a few minutes. And you can do the minutes and the seconds here. The other neat thing is that you can choose the sound it makes by tapping here. And you can choose different sounds. Okay. And then you can go up here and hit set. And that is the sound you'll hear when your timer goes off. And then to enable it, you're going to have to hit start. Okay, so that is just with a tap. Let's go back to our control center. The other thing that you can do with the timer is you can do a long press. So put your finger on it, press, and then you can easily set the timer for different intervals. Okay, the first one here is for 1 minute. You can go up. You can see it's different minutes. And then go up here, it's 30 minutes, it's 45 minutes, an hour, and 2 hours. So that's a quick way to set the timer for those different times. It's just an easy way to do that. Okay, so tap your screen, and we will go to the next control. This one, the iPad insists on doing things multiple ways. And this is another way that you can get to your camera. You can tap it to get quick access to your camera, or you can do a long press to get options. So I'm going to do the long press, and you'll notice, I'm going to try it again. I'm going to do a long press, and you notice that it takes me quickly. If I want to take a selfie, I can tap that first option. Or if I want to quickly record a video, it's the next one. Take a photo and then record slow motion. So these are just kind of a shortcut to your camera. Another way to get to different functions of your camera. Okay. The next icon here we have is notes. And that one's pretty neat too. If you tap it, it brings up your notes app so you can make a note. But with a long press, you've got other options. So I'm just going to do a long press, and it pulls up the option to do a new note or a new checklist. You know, maybe you want to quickly do a grocery list, and so you can just start a checklist there. You can do a photo in your notes. And then this cool one is you can scan a document. So with the newer iOS, you can actually scan a document as a PDF, or you can scan it as a photo. So that one is really pretty cool. Let me go ahead and I'm not going to show you exactly how to do it, but I'm going to show you a little bit about it. So I'm going to tap that, and it's going to use my iPad camera, but it's the scanner. And then I can hold my iPad over a document and see that it's trying to catch it. And then I can just use the shutter button to do that. And then I can then use the little handles here to straighten it up a little bit. And then I can choose to keep scan. And then it goes into my files. So I use that quite a bit instead of using the scanner on my printer, because it's just so easy to use. And very quick, a lot quicker than my scanner. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and pull my control center back up. And we're going to go to the next icon, which is this one right here. And that is the stopwatch. So if you use a stopwatch, you can get to it by just tapping it. And I don't use the stopwatch, but people use it to measure the duration of an event or to track lap times. So you have this screen that you could possibly use, or if you will swipe to the left, then you also have this stopwatch. So whichever one works best for you. Okay, let's go back to the control center. And the next icon that is coming up is this one right here, and that is voice memos. Find your voice memos. You use that to create a voice memo with your device's built-in microphone. The voice memos turns your iPad into a portable audio recorder. Apple says a new modern design makes it even easier to capture and share personal notes, family moments, classroom lectures, and more. And it also has editing tools like trim, insert, and replace to let you fine-tune your recording. So it's pretty neat. It's pretty simple. If I want to start recording, I'll just tap the record button, and it will start picking up my voice and any other voice in the room, and you will have a voice recording. And then you can just tap done, or you can pause it, or you can actually tap done to finish it, and then it just shows up here in your recording. So that's kind of a neat feature. Okay, now let's talk about screen recording. This one is screen recording. Screen recordings are great for showing off apps, recording action in a game, and showing how to perform a task. Tap the record button and it will count down to start the recording. Completed videos are saved in the Photos app. A long push will also let you disable the microphone. So if we tap that, it will start screen recording. I cannot show that because I'm in AirPlay right now, because I'm on Zoom, but you should be able to do that. And then it records anything that you do on your iPad. The next icon is your QR reader. And I think people are more familiar with that recently. You can use this to scan QR codes for links to websites, apps, coupons, tickets, and more. It automatically detects and highlights the QR code. I know that the newer cameras do that as well, but here's your QR code. So if I go ahead and press that, I've got some QR codes here in front of me. Got this one, and if you just point it at the QR code, it just automatically goes to what it is. And this is our website at CKCS. So that one is really just very easy to work. Another one we have here, let me set it up so that I can capture without capturing the other ones. I go back to my QR code. Focus on it. It pops up, and this one was taking it to the post office. But it isn't today. So, but you can go ahead and try that when you have a QR code. I know a lot of the restaurants are using QR codes for you to pop up the menu, so they don't have to hand out menus. So you might find that handy. Okay, go ahead and pull your control center back up, and a neat one that they have added is your Apple TV remote right here. Okay, and I have to say I do have an Apple TV, but I've only actually used it once. But it controls, it's for an iOS device with 12 or later. And it's activated automatically when you have your Apple TV on and when entering text in the keyboard. So I'm just going to tap that just so you see what it looks like. I don't have it connected to this Apple TV in the office, but this is what the control looks like. And so you'll have a menu and you have your, play and pause buttons here. So if you have an Apple TV, you may want to try this one. Okay. This icon right here is an interesting one that I have tried to use. It is sound recognition. And sound recognition will continuously listen for certain sounds and will notify you when sounds may be recognized. Tap it to turn it on, and a long press allows you to select the sound and to go to settings. So I'm going to go ahead and tap it, and it does give you the warning that, hey, Siri is not available while using sound recognition, but it will resume after sound recognition has been turned off. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel that. Now I'm going to do a long press on it and look at the things that it will recognize. It will recognize fire alarm, siren, smoke alarm, cat, dog, and it will give you a notification. I actually put the door knock on there, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So, all right. At home, sometimes it would work, and maybe it's Zoom that's not letting it register it. But usually when the door knocks, then I'll have a notification come across, a banner come across it saying sound recognition door knock. So that might be one that you want to play with. Okay, the next one are accessibility shortcuts. And just quickly, I will tell you, it enables you to use various accessibility features like Smart Invert, which reverses the color of your display, switch controls, and voiceover. So if you're using accessibility shortcuts, this is just a quick way to get to those controls. The next one we had seen in the brightness control, and it is called dark mode. And this is just a quick way to go into dark mode. You just tap it. You notice at the top it says dark mode on. I'll tap it again. It says dark mode off. So it's just a way to turn your dark mode on and off. This icon here, a lot of restaurants are using it. It's this one right here. It's called guided access. And guided access helps you stay focused on a task by temporarily restricting the iPad to a single app. And I think businesses, education, and restaurants have been using these. You see a lot of those establishments using iPads. They probably don't want their employees playing on the iPad, so it restricts it to a relevant task. Or if you have children that you don't want into certain apps, you can restrict it there as well. This next one is hearing. And hearing is made for iPhone MFI hearing aids or sound processors with the iPad, and it allows you to adjust the settings. So if I tap it, actually it's picking up my AirPods, and I can use it there to use the app Live Listen. Okay, and we are winding down, probably just in time. This is the Home app, and the Home app allows you to control your HomeKit accessories. You can turn off lights, see who's at the front door, adjust your living room temperature, and turn up the music and much more. But that's using the HomeKit accessories. So if I tap it, I don't have any home accessories, but it will give you a lot of information about what you can control. Okay, and back to the control center. This last one is music recognition. And you notice it's the icon for Shazam. And for those of you who have that app, it will show up in your control center. And Shazam will identify any song in seconds, discover artists, lyrics, and videos in playlists. It won't do it while I'm on Zoom, but you just press it and it turns it on and it listens and then pops up the information. So, okay, so that is a quick overview of the control center. And hopefully you all have been able to see everything on your iPad as well, and were able to follow along. I guess we are now open for questions, if there are any questions. Bill, are you with us?
Yeah, there's a couple questions. One thing, if you would readdress how some of the folks didn't have all those applications on their control center. So would you go over that right quickly, how to get them on there?
Okay, so what you have to do is you have to customize your control center. And you do that by going up here to settings. So I'm going to tap on settings. And it takes me to this view. And I have to scroll down to under general. And I'm going to look for control center. Okay, so here is control center. And you will tap that. When you tap that, on this side of your iPad, you will have all of your controls. I think there's 14 controls maybe altogether. I have them all activated, but I don't usually keep all of them. So I'm going to go ahead. I don't have a home kit, so I'm going to tap the little red circle and remove it from my control center. Okay. If I wanted to put it back on, I'd go down here and I would tap the plus sign and it would go back into my control center. So I tap it to remove. Tap to remove. And then if I want to add it, I will just tap the green circle with the plus sign and it will just pop right back up there into my control center. And see, there's dark mode. When I go to my control center, dark mode is right there. It's the last one. The other thing that I did not mention is that you have these little gray lines over here. So let's say I want dark mode to be really at the top or closer to the top. I can press these three little lines and it highlights it, and then I can move it. So you can customize your control center even more. If you have hearing aids, you might want them this up at the top. So it's just, you put your finger on the three gray lines, let it highlight it, and then you just move it.
Another question was about the flashlight.
There's no flashlight. You don't, at least on my iPad, I do not have a flash with my camera. But if you maybe have a newer one, it may have a flash, but your iPhone does have a flashlight, and it will show up in your control center. It's easy, and there's like 3 ways to find the flashlight, but it's not on most iPads.
And I had a question about which one of these in the control center work with Siri. So
Oh, yeah. And, you know, I have to say that I use Siri for lots of things. I send messages with Siri. I start music with Siri. I'm trying to think. I haven't even thought about that. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't really have an answer for that one.
okay, here's a question. I added all of the apps available to the control panel, but no notes. She didn't
That's
find notes. She
interesting.
said she may need to upgrade her iOS.
That's a possibility, though. Notes is an app that's been around a long time, but it could be possible that you haven't used Notes for a while and your setting is such that it then deletes it. So you may have to go in and to the App Store and download it again, and then it will show up. I did not have sound recognition in my control center until I downloaded Shazam app. And once I did that, my iPad said, oh, you have Shazam. So yes, you can have the music recognition icon. So that may be your issue.
I missed how to lock the iPad to a specific app. Guided access.
Okay, guided access. I really cannot go into that on here, but go ahead and find your guided access, and you'll just have to walk through its description. Okay, so here's guided access, and you can enable it by touching this toggle, and you notice that it keeps the iPad in a single app. And you've got some passcode settings and time limits. So just look through those and you can specify.